On today's episode of Tasha's Sewing Tutorials, we will be making palazzo pants. There are two methods that we could use to make a palazzo pant, and today we're going to be showing you method number 1, and we will also show you method number 2 and 3 at a later date, probably next week. But today's method will be to take a skirt we already own and upcycle it to the palazzo pant. This is the most easiest way to do this. And the second way that we could do it is to take a skirt pattern and modify that to be the palazzo pant. But before I do that, I want to actually show you how to make the pattern that we're going to use. So I'm not showing you that method today. Method number 3 would be to take a pair of pants, and well, a pant pattern rather, and modify that to make a palazzo pant, which we also will show you at a later time. So today we're doing the skirt upcycle. Next week we'll be doing the skirt pattern, and we will also be doing the modification for the palazzo pant, and I may or may not sew another pair of palazzo pant together on that one, I don't know. So all 3 of those videos will be out next week. And then the week after, we will be making a pant pattern. We will be modifying that pant pattern to a palazzo pant, and we may or may not sew that one together again. I don't know if we really actually need to do that, since we're sewing one together here, and more than likely sew the one together for the skirt modification, skirt pattern modification. But if you guys want me to do it, I'll go ahead and do it. Okay, so stay tuned. Right here is what we're going to use to make our skirt modification for the palazzo pant. As you can see, it's kind of one of those old school broomstick skirts that flares out. You may or may not have one of these kind of skirts with a liner. This one has a liner. See that? This is the skirt. This is the liner. I don't know if you can tell that or not, because this skirt is kind of dark brown. But I got it actually a few years ago from Old Navy, but I'm pretty sure you can find one of these at a thrift store if you like to do that. Or you could probably find them, they're coming back in style, so you may be able to find them at the store, any store you like to shop at. The first thing you're going to do is try it on, put the skirt on, and locate where you want the crotch to be, and put a pin in it. And I want my crotch to begin right there. So I'm going to put a pin in it, and since this has a liner, I'm going to make sure that my liner is straight and it's lined up with the skirt, and this one is, and we're going to pin through everything, the skirt, the liner, everything. And then, and when you do this, make sure you probably want to make sure you have enough room. Try it on with the pin in between where the crotch would be, and look in the mirror, because you don't want to have a camel toe when you put your clothes on. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to slightly to the middle put pins all the way down the middle to hold it together. And actually, when you do the crotch, you might want to put it a little bit lower than you think it should be, because you can always modify it to make it higher, but you can't lower it after you cut it. So you want to make it a little bit lower than where you think it should be. And you're going to slightly over to one side, put the pin straight down to hold all the layers together. This is so easy, guys. I'm telling you, so easy that you can do this in probably 10 minutes as a beginner. And then after you put the pin straight down, you're going to take your scissors and just cut up the middle. That's our next step. So I'm going to take my scissors, my trusty scissors, and cut right up the middle. The reason why we put the pin slightly over to the side is because we're going to cut along the side of the pins. And that's what I'm doing now. Cutting along the side of the pins, making sure I'm cutting through all the layers at the same time. That was the whole point of putting the pins in. And I'm going to stop right at the pin that I have for the crotch. And I actually put a pin shape, like a cross shape right there, to know the stop right there. And now all you have to do is turn this to the wrong side out, which I should have had it on the wrong side out already, I guess, but this one had a liner, so I couldn't really do it like that because the liner isn't as big as the skirt itself. So I'm taking all the pins out and I'm going to turn this to the wrong side out, because what I want to do now is I want to sew the liner together first and then sew the pant leg together. You don't want to sew them together like this, because then you won't be able to move freely in the liner like it's supposed to. So we're going to turn it on the wrong side out now. And I'm going to pull the skirt to this side and pull the lining to the other side, if I can get it correctly. And the reason why we're doing that, once again, is so we can sew the liner together first and then sew together the actual skirt itself, pant legs together. So line up your cut edges like this. Oh, look at that, I missed a piece. Line up your cut edges like this. Put your pins in. Give yourself 5/8 of an inch, or actually the standard in sewing is 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. In case you want to make some adjustments, you can. But honestly, I tend to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. But if you want to use 5/8 of a seam allowance, go ahead and do that. I'm going to pin this up, going up one side and coming back down the other side, and then I'll be back. So we'll turn the camera off and we'll be back when it's pinned up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, before we left, I told you to pin the lining together. I told you wrong. I didn't remember until I thought about it after we turned the camera off. But really, what we should have did was pin the skirt itself. We're going to go up one side and down the other, and then do the lining second, and I'll show you why in a minute. So that's what we did, and now what we have to do is sew it together. And here's my handy dandy sewing machine. And when I sew this together, I'm gonna actually turn the sound off because it gets loud, but we're gonna bring the sewing machine around to the other side and let you see what's going on. Okay, we'll be back. Now I have my fabric lined up to the 1/2 inch mark. For you guys who don't know, I'm gonna zoom in for a little bit and let you guys know for the beginners. Okay, for you guys who don't know, this right here, the sewing machine, the throat plate, for all the beginners, it has lines on there. This line right here, I don't know if you can see that or not with my straight pin. I'm trying to point to you. The very first line is the 5/8 of an inch line. I'm sorry, the very first line is 1/4 of an inch. The second line is 1/2 inch. And this third line is 5/8 of an inch. Now, if you were going to be sewing at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you line up to this third line. If you're sewing for a 1/2 inch seam allowance, you line up to this second line. I'm going to be sewing at 1/2 inch seam allowance, so I'm going to line up to that second line right there. And I'm going to drop my needle and so when you do this, you don't want to drop your needle into the back of the fabric, because then it gets stuck down into the hole where the needle goes in to catch with the bobbin. So you're going to put it the end of the fabric all the way to the end of the presser foot right here, like I did. and then you drop your needle in. You're going to sew forward a little bit and then sew all the way back to the edge and come back forward again. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around this side, all the way till we get to the crotch. And when we get to the crotch, we're going to back stitch it a lot because it's the crotch. You don't want to wear that and wear a hole in your crotch. So we're going to secure that with a bunch of back stitching. And usually I don't use a lot of pins. Actually, I don't normally use pins at all, but I use the pins for the demonstration. If you're new to sewing, use your pins. If you're an expert like I am, like an old antique expert like I am, because I've been sewing for 25 years, you don't have to use the pins. But anyway, I'm going to turn the sound off, but I'm going to keep the sew the end so you can see what I'm doing. It's kind of loud, so I know you don't want to hear all of that, so I'm going to turn the sound off and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. One moment. Okay, now you can see that the two legs are sewn together. Now you're going to see why we did the lining last. What you're going to do now is take the leg, fold it up like this so you can get it into the lining, and we're going to pin the lining around the leg. And the reason why we're doing it like that is so we can turn this onto the right side out and have our lining on the inside like it's supposed to be. So you see how I rolled that up? Now I have the lining going around the inside leg. I'm sorry, the outside shell. This is the lining, this is the shell. This is the lining, this is the shell. We're pinning it around. We're pinning it around the shell. You can see that. We're going to do that side, and we're also going to do this side as well. And I'm going to pin that around, and then I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like, and then we're going to sew it up, and then we're going to try it on, and you're going to see how it looks when we're done. Okay, you guys, we can see we're back, and I pinned it together, and as you can see, I did it the exact same way for the lining as I did for the inside. And what you can do for the inside, you can either roll it up and pin the lining around it like I did before, or you could do the second option, which is probably the easier version, is to pull the legs out the other side and pin it, and then when you're done sewing, you're going to put your arm in like this and pull them back through, and then you're going to turn it to the right side out. So I'm pretty sure you guys don't have to see me sewing the lining because it's going to be done the exact same way as we did the shell. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the lining together, come back. Remember, we're going to back stitch it at the crotch a lot so we can secure the crotch. And I'm going to come back, show you how to turn it to the right side. Come back, I'm going to sew it, show you how to put it to the right side, and we're done. Okay guys, now we have the liner sewed together. I'm going to show you what to do next. We have the liner sewed together, so what we need to do is get this side into this side and into the right side out. So what you're going to do is put your hand, your liner and your shell are on the wrong side out still, and you're going to put your hand into the liner, bring it all the way to the end of the pant leg like this, pant leg like that, bring it into the liner, do the same thing for the other side, put your hand into the liner, bring it all the way to the end, bring it to the other side. Now we have this. So the next thing we're going to do is put your hand into the pant leg again, grab the shell and the liner and pull it to the right side out. Do the same thing to the other side, and now you have a pair of Palazzo pants that is fully lined that you made from a skirt you already have. Now I'm going to go ahead and try them on and come back and show you guys what they look like, because you can't really tell how nice they look on this table here. So I'll be back in a minute with my new pants on.